What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a quick comparison of the Galaxy S10 5G versus the Galaxy S10 Plus here. So we're not going to waste too much time, because these phones are very similar. So I wanted to do this comparison, really just more of a discussion to just sort of guide you through the pros and cons of getting an S10 Plus or getting a S10 5G. And which device is going to be better for you guys, because there are very slight differences here. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So one of the most important things here is to always check on the price of these phones. An S10 Plus will typically cost $215 to $240. That's what you can pick them for, on Amazon. S10 5G is going to be actually slightly a bit more expensive. It's going to be around like $280. And let's see for unlocked one. The unlocked ones are actually kind of hard to find. Yeah, the unlocked ones are kind of expensive. But if you go on eBay, maybe you can find an unlocked one for maybe around $300. But typically this phone is like $280. Alright, so let's go ahead and just look at the hardware, because this is kind of a difference here. As you can see, the S10 5G is a much bigger body, or not much, but it's a bigger body than the S10 Plus here. So it's a bit heavier too as well, since it has a bigger battery in it. You can kind of notice it, but all in all, almost around the same thickness. They essentially have the same hardware setup as well too. The headphone jack is still on here. The stereo speakers are on both of these guys. We're going to test those out, see if the S10 Plus is equal to the the S10 5G, but same design on here as well too. The only difference you'll notice here with the design is that you'll see you do have a depth sensor on here, as opposed to just the triple camera setup. There's a 0.3 depth sensor on the S10 5G, which we will talk about. But as far as design, the S10, if you don't like big phones, you might not like the S10 5G. It's more of a modern day kind of size at 6.7 inches versus the 6.4 inches. Body style on here. So this is actually kind of a little bit more compact. So if you have smaller hands or something like that, S10 5G is a little bit more comfortable. Alright, so this sort of takes us into one of the biggest reasons why is the big screen versus the slightly smaller screen here. So the S10 5G has a dynamic AMOLED at 6.7 inches. It is HDR10 plus. It's 1440p 502 for the PPI, and then the S10 Plus has the exact same screen. It's a dynamic AMOLED HDR10 plus, 1440p, actually with a slightly higher PPI at 522, but it's not really noticeable at all. They both have the double punch hole. The double punch hole you can see on the S10 5G, you can see is much bigger. I don't know if you guys could tell, but it looks bigger to me. Almost looks like a triple. But yeah, so as far as the screen goes, the same exact screen. Like I said, it just comes down to these very small things. Do you want a big screen or a smaller screen? And I think that varies on how much content you watch on your phone. If you watch a lot of videos on your phone, you're probably gonna go with the bigger screen, because it's just going to be more enjoyable. Also, keep into consideration that you might not like that the double punch hole is bigger on the S10 5G as well. Honestly, it doesn't matter which phone you get. You really don't even notice the double punch hole after a while. Your eyes just kind of ignore it. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. As far as software, both these phones are capable of running Android 12, One UI 4.1. They both are in their security patch stages. They both have all the same features as far as Samsung desktop support, NFC, wireless charging, reverse wireless charging. Everything is on the S10 Plus, that's on the 5G. So basically the only difference with features is that you do have 5G capability on the S10 5G. So if you do want, that 5G, you want to spend the extra money, definitely keep that into consideration. As far as the speed, okay, and the speed and specs on this phone, they're identical as well, but there are slight difference here. So both these phones have the Snapdragon 855 chip and the Adreno 640 GPU. Now, here's the big difference. The S10 Plus has micro SD card support, and the S10 5G does not. The base storage, though, on the S10 5G is 256 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM. the S10 5G, it does have that micro SD card support. Base storage is 128 and 8 gigs of RAM, so technically you get more storage, right, on the S10 Plus because you have that SD card support. I would say if you download a lot of content, if you download a lot of games, you take a lot of video on your phone and stuff like that, you definitely are going to want that SD card support that the S10 Plus offers. So definitely take that consideration. So you see the kind of trade-off. You get a bigger screen on here, you get 5G, but it lacks SD card support, which could be like a essential thing for you guys. So also keep that into consideration. As far as the gaming performance on both of these phones are extremely fast. So if you guys do want to game on these devices, I highly recommend you check out some of my gaming tests I've done for the S10 Plus. I'm going to do one for the 5G, but these do a fantastic job at playing video games. And I always preach on this channel, these phones are going to do a much better job than any mid-range phone that you can buy. Well, not any, but a lot of mid-range phones, like let's say for instance a Galaxy A53, you know, it's just gonna, these phones are going to do a much better job as far as playing PUBG and just general graphics settings, and the benchmarks are just going to be overall better on these older flagship phones here, which is something that I really like. So just to show you guys real quick, and like I said, same settings on both, you'll see that we're able to max out PUBG, HDR, and extreme, and then we can go to Ultra HD if we desire to, and it just plays extremely smooth. So if you do play a lot of video games, you'll really enjoy this experience on here for sure. I was really curious because the S10 5G speakers are actually excellent. They sound awesome, so I wonder if the S10 Plus is on par, but I honestly think they're not. Man, this top speaker on here puts in so much work for such a small speaker though. Yeah, the S10 5G has the better and louder speaker. It's just louder and just better in almost in every category. It's more bass, sounds more cleaner. The top speaker is putting in way more work. It's pretty amazing actually. Yeah, it's not even close. Yeah, it's not even close. So yeah, the speaker is better on the S10 5G for sure here. Honestly, becoming one of my favorite sounding speakers. Especially, I've always liked Samsung speakers, you know, since they're tuned with AKG. They have that kind of sound that I like. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the speaker on here as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the cameras. So I'm not going to waste too much time with the cameras because they both take identical photos. I went out and snapped a couple photos, and they take identical photos. So if you're wondering, like, are you going to get different, you know, image quality, that's not the case. They're going to take the exact same photos. So where the difference is with the depth sensor, so the S10 5G does have that depth sensor. You guys should be able to see that. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, you can see, but the specs go, both of these phones have 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel telephoto. They do 2x optical zoom, and then a 16 megapixel ultra wide. But the S10 5G only has the depth sensor. It shoots in 4K 60 on both of these guys as well too. And then both of them have a 10 megapixel selfie cam, also with a depth sensor as well. And they can shoot at 4K 60 on the front as well too. So as far as image quality, you're gonna get some great you know, images out of both of these phones for sure. Like I said, I don't think the depth sensor is a big deal for a lot of people. I don't think that should be a huge, you know, deciding factor. But like I said, it's there. Alright, so I do want to go ahead and talk about another, which I think is important here, another key highlight here, is the S10 5G has better battery life than the standard S10. So, the S10 Plus, excuse me. All right, so the S10 5G, it's got a 4,500 milliamp battery on here, and I just noticed my standby time is way better on the S10 5G than it is on the S10 Plus. It's also got 25-watt charging, wireless charging, and reverse wireless charging. The standard S10 Plus, it has a 4,100 milliamp battery, so it's slightly smaller battery, and yeah, I can definitely tell the difference. If this is getting around 6 hours, then this is getting closer to 7 hours of screen on time for me. And like I said, standby time is much better on the S10 5G. That's one thing I noticed. If I just leave both phones like for a couple days, this will die. Even if they're both at 100%, this will die faster than the S10 5G. So that's one thing that I noticed. But like I said, this also does not charge anywhere near as fast. It's 15-watt charging, like I said, versus the 25-watt charging on the S10 5G. So take that into consideration as well too. So overall, if you don't need the SD card support, I honestly would go with the S10 5G. I just think that more of you guys would probably lean towards the bigger display. I think a lot of people could take advantage of the 5G if you really want to, but I've read some stuff about the 5G not really being 5G. That's a whole nother discussion, really. And you're kind of locked into Verizon because it's kind of hard to find an unlocked version. So it's kind of, there's pros and cons here, but the main thing about the S10 Plus is really the size, right, and SD card support. If you don't care about that, then I think this is definitely the better pick. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.